Hello, everyone. I hope that you are doing well. Today, we're going to start the um, discussion and conclusion section of the paper, which are maybe not the last, but one of the very final stages of writing the paper. So I will talk about both. I think I will divide the video first on discussion and then conclusion, and I will give you some examples of how you can write these two sections. So first, what is the discussion? Well, the discussion is the section of the paper where you discuss the findings from the empirics, and you kind of contrast that with the theory. As you remember, the findings from the case study were only findings, were only interesting things that happened, right? So you highlighted 2 or 3 interesting things that happened, and you only told us what happened in there, right? But here in the discussion, it's different because here you want to contrast your findings with the theory. So in simple words, it's like saying, what, what did I find that is different? Hopefully different. It can be similar, but it's more interesting if it is different with the theory. So that's why I write in here these questions. What is contradictory from the cases to the theory? So maybe what you first saw on theory is that maybe financial controls are the most important controls. I think that's part of what Malmi and Brown says. They say that financial control, budgets, financial calculations, things like that are very, very important. Like even though they propose other things, they still say that they are very important. And as I believe in group number 2, financial controls are not that important on the digital transformation process. I think cultural controls are maybe more important or other type of controls, but financial controls not really. So that is kind of contradictory and surprising. So you are going to maybe state something like the findings are surprising in this sense, blah, blah. And you can say, in our cases, uh, in contrast or against what Malmi and Brown argued about financial controls, we found that the organizations focus more on cultural controls during the digital transformation process. And then you justify why that happens. So you say, you can explain that it is because there is a lot of uncertainty and numbers are not possible to calculate. That can be an explanation. So it's something like that. Think about your findings. How can you contrast them with the theory, and then justify or explain why that happens. In the case of a finding that supports other studies, like I think I can remember the number of the group, but it's the construction group where they found something similar to what they review on the literature. Don't worry, it's okay to highlight some findings that are similar to the theory. It's okay. In this case, you will say like, similar to this paper who suggested this, we found this, right? It's similar, right? But also highlight like the minor differences or what I think it's impossible to be exactly the same as the theory says. So highlight what is different. Like maybe you can say, yes, we agree with that paper because they concluded that the management area in the organization is more intensive on digital transformation, but we identified that in this organization, it is also because of this and this. Maybe because they, um, I don't know, they had the control over the budget for the digital transformation process, something like that. Like go a bit further. Don't only say, I agree with this, because that's very boring. So you can say, I agree with this, but, and then you add something else. So that's kind of the essence of the discussion. My suggestions are to keep it simple, like take 2 or 3 or 4 takeaway points, those are the takeaway points from your findings. So if you have two findings, you should have two theoretical contributions. Justify your answer, justify your contribution, justify your statement, and use references. Like, don't say this finding is similar to the theory, because what theory? Say something like, this finding is similar to this author in this paper, something like that. Like, be very, very concrete. So I will finish this video about discussion, and I will continue with the next video about conclusion.